Tonight we have the remarkable story of a man who says when it comes to Los Angeles, the CIA hasn't always played by the rules.
The agency has dealt drugs throughout this country for a long time.
If you don't like what's going on here, please leave now.
It began to become apparent to me that guns were going one way and drugs were going another.
The CIA has issued a blanket response to all of this, denying any involvement.
My name is Mike Rupert, R-U-P-P-E-R-T. I did bring this information out 18 years ago, and I got shot at and forced out of LAPD because of it. I've been on the record for 18 years.
We got on record everywhere we could so that if I did get killed, we would know. You know, somebody would know that somebody was saying something was wrong with CIA.
Hello, I'm Mike Rupert. It has been 28 months since the attacks of September 11th changed our world forever. As I wrote recently, the events in the 5 years following the attacks of 9/11 will determine the course of human history for the next 500 years. That prediction is proving to be true. Within 3 months of those attacks, I and my publication, From the Wilderness, had, using unimpeachable research materials, assembled a clear picture of what was driving world events. We had shown that the U.S. government had ample warning to have prevented the attacks and did not. We had shown that the U.S. and global economies were corrupt and on the verge of collapse, that the U.S. economy was particularly dependent upon the flow of hundreds of billions of dollars from the illegal drug trade. Since the U.S. occupation of Afghanistan in November 2001, at a time when the Taliban had destroyed more than 90% of all opium production, Afghanistan has, under CIA and U.S. military control, once again become the largest producer of the opium poppy, accounting for 70% of the world's supply. In spite of that, more than 2 million new Americans have become unemployed, and the total number of unemployed is higher than at any time since the Great Depression. According to the Reuters news service, the number of Americans living in poverty is 34.6 million. Most importantly, we accurately described something called peak oil. That is the fact that in 100 years, mankind has used half of all the oil and natural gas that has ever been created, and that from now on, the world will have to cope with ever-diminishing supplies of hydrocarbon energy, even as demand is increasing exponentially. We described the war that Dick Cheney told us would not end in our lifetimes as a sequential war to control the last remaining oil reserves on the planet. We specifically stated that the Middle East, Colombia, and Venezuela were on the agenda. We have been proved right on every count. And in the 2 years since I gave this lecture at Portland State University, our subscribers have benefited from more than 100 separate articles which have kept them ahead of the game. With the occupations of Afghanistan and Iraq, both of which have become costly guerrilla conflicts, and with the exposure of the Bush administration's deceptions about 9/11 and the threats posed by Saddam Hussein, we have seen the seeds for new conflicts being planted in West Africa, Venezuela, and Colombia, as well as in the Far East, Indonesia, and Korea. In each of these places, there are reserves of oil and gas or strategic transit routes that can help to meet supply needs for whoever controls them. The endgame for all this struggle is China, whose oil imports were recently predicted by the Japan Times to increase by 500% before the year 2030. What we did not know at the time that we made this tape, a fact which was not known even to the oil companies who were drilling there, was that an anticipated bonanza of oil from the Caspian Sea basin and Kazakhstan was proving to be a major disappointment. As one oil expert told a May 2003 conference on peak oil in Paris, which I was attending, quote, 20 out of 25 wells sunk in the Caspian basin between 2000 and 2003 have resulted in dry holes. What was thought to be a reserve holding as much as 200 billion barrels of oil has shown itself to be a series of isolated pockets totaling no more than 40 billion barrels. Planet Earth consumes 1 billion barrels of oil every 11.5 days. That oil may never reach Western markets because of the drilling, pumping, and transportation investment required. As this realization came to pass, the oil reserves of the Middle East have become all the more important for the industrialized world. 60% of all recoverable oil is in the Middle East. That helps to explain the sudden shift in U.S. policy away from Afghanistan and towards Iraq in 2002. It also explains the desperation behind the sloppy and fraudulent efforts to get the U.S. into Iraq at whatever cost, even if that prevented the re-election of the Bush administration or its exposure to impeachable charges over forged documents, the outing of CIA counterterror personnel, and many other criminal activities. 11% of all recoverable oil in the world is in Iraq. In the meantime, in spite of some resistance by the U.S. Congress and state and local governments against the Patriot Act, American civil liberties continue to be trashed. New laws, such as the Homeland Security Bill, permit the U.S. government to forcibly vaccinate American citizens against their will and then prosecute them as criminals if they refuse to accept untested vaccines. This, even as the vaccine makers have been granted absolute legal immunity if you or your family drop dead after receiving the shots, there's no one to sue. And critical shortages of natural gas have prevented the building of new electrical generating infrastructure and threatened the production of commercial fertilizers as food production for an exploding population becomes a critical issue. All commercial fertilizers are made from natural gas. Mankind stands at the brink of the most important moment it has ever faced. Alternative energy sources are vastly overrated, and none of them, in any combination, can replace what oil and natural gas have done for mankind in the last 100 years. Even if they could, the infrastructure and investment and building needed to implement these solutions should have begun 30 years ago, when the United States passed its own irreversible peak of production. Since I gave this lecture on the truth and lies of 9/11, I have given more than 35 additional lectures in 7 countries around the world, from Australia to Germany. With each lecture, I have updated this presentation with new material, and, sadly, not once have I had to say that we had it wrong from the start. So please, sit back now and watch our film, The Truth and Lies of 9/11, and begin to understand how deeply all of our lives are threatened. Then come join us at FromTheWilderness.com and become one of our more than 12,000 subscribers. With each new subscription, our ability to bring you better and more comprehensive reporting expands even as the world becomes a more dangerous place to live. The answers, our answers, our children's answers, can only be found when we come to understand the real map that we are traveling on.
Mr. Speaker, members, I rise today really with a very heavy heart, one that is filled with sorrow for the families and the loved ones who were killed and injured this week. Only the most foolish and the most callous would not understand the grief that has really gripped our people and millions across the world. This unspeakable act on the United States has really forced me, however, to rely on my moral compass, my conscience, and my God for direction. September 11th changed the world. Our deepest fears now haunt us. Yet I am convinced that military action will not prevent further acts of international terrorism against the United States. This is a very complex and complicated matter. Now, this resolution will pass, although we all know that the President can wage a war even without it. However difficult this vote may be, some of us must urge the use of restraint. Our country is in a state of mourning. Some of us must say, let's step back for a moment. Let's just pause just for a minute and think through the implications of our actions today, so that this does not spiral out of control. Now, I have agonized over this vote, but I came to grips with it today, and I came to grips with opposing this resolution during the very painful yet very beautiful memorial service. As a member of the clergy so eloquently said, as we act, let us not become the evil that we deplore.
Thank you, Demetrius, and thank all of you. I am unbelievably gratified to see so many people here tonight. I almost got up here and said, "Hi, my name is Mike. I'm an alcoholic," but I think I'm at the wrong meeting, I guess. We're going to talk about a lot of things tonight that are very difficult, a lot of things tonight that are very challenging. A lot of things that will test and try many of us in the months and the years to come. But we're going to have a certain approach to this, and it's the only kind of approach that I have found in 23 years that works when you're challenging a government that no longer serves the interests of the people. I'd like to start off by asking a question, like a show of hands. How many people in the room tonight believe that Lee Harvey Oswald was the lone gunman and solely responsible for the murder of John F. Kennedy? Show of hands. 2 hands, and they're both joking. How many people in the room tonight believe that the war that is now taking place and getting ready to move all over the world is solely the result of the attacks on the World Trade Center on September the 11th? Okay. All right. Great. The approach that we're going to take tonight is very straightforward. I was, for some short period of time, not as much as I wanted to be, an investigator with LAPD. I worked narcotics. I was loaned to detectives. I worked a homicide table. I worked a burglary table and an auto theft table for a while. And there is a procedure that you follow when you are presenting evidence. There is a way that you structure evidence to avoid speculation, and there is a way to fight this government. And before we start into the details on September the 11th, I want to show you 2 dramatic examples. I have 2 short clips of video that I would like to show you. And if we can run the first one, this will set the tone for what we're going to talk about tonight and what we're not going to talk about tonight. For 38 years, as of November 22nd, just a few days ago, we have had a videotape showing clearly that John F. Kennedy was shot from the front and not the back, where the Warren Commission says that Lee Harvey Oswald was, up and behind to the right in the Texas School Book Depository. You look at this tape, and there is clear, convincing, incontrovertible evidence. Yet what good has it done us? What has it done to change the government? What has it done? What have we, meaning the American people, accomplished with this piece of video that shows his head moving backwards as a result of a bullet impact from the front of his head? It hasn't changed anything. I want you to bear that in mind, because I'm going to use the word "you" a lot tonight. And by you, I mean the American people. I'm talking to you as if I was talking to all 280 million people in this country. And I'm going to say some things that are going to be kind of backing you into a corner. And that is my direct intent. So some of the things we are not going to talk about tonight are speculations about the attacks on September the 11th. We are not going to talk about were there explosives in the building, were the planes piloted by remote control, any of those questions, because those are speculative questions that produce the same kind of results that we just saw on the tape. After 38 years, you can play that all you want, and it doesn't change anything. There are people who have been talking about the Oklahoma City bombing since it happened in 1995. We have videotape of U.S. military personnel machine gunning the Branch Davidians at Waco. We have proof up to galore. We're not here looking tonight for proof. We're not going to go home and have armchair discussions, because what's at stake now is our freedom. What's at stake now is our future. This is no more time to go home, and you'll see that before I'm through tonight. Now, there is another way to take on the government. There is another way to take on the lunacy of the mass media. And that is by using their own statements and their own evidence against them to prove that they are lying. Because if you're in this room tonight, you are probably already the choir. Our safety, our future, our liberty, our country, and maybe the planet depends upon us reaching out to the millions of people out there who are still waving the flag, still believing that this is a war like they're being sold on CNN. Now, I'm going to play another tape now, and I'm going to show you what happens when you confront the government with their own information head on. This is a confrontation I had with the Director of Central Intelligence, John Deutsch, at Locke High School in 1996 over the issue of the CIA bringing drugs into Los Angeles. I want you to watch his hands very carefully after I confront him.
Sir, the man in the
That's Congresswoman Juanita Millender McDonald of Compton.
I will be coming back
Hi.
over. I'll put you.
I am a former Los Angeles police narcotics detective, and I work South Central Los Angeles, and I will tell you, Director Deutsch, emphatically and
Can
without
you speak
equivocation.
further into the mic, sir? These mics don't seem to be...
I will tell you, Director Deutsch, as a former Los Angeles police narcotics detective, that the agency has dealt drugs throughout this country for a long time.
All right, obviously that is an answer for a lot of you. Now can you please?
I refer...
All right, now can you please?
I refer direct...
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute here. Wait a minute. If you don't like what's going on here, please leave now. No, leave. No, leave now, because there are others who do want to hear what's going on in this room. Will you please take your seats? I will come back to you as we roll back across to the center section.
Director Deutsch, I will refer you to 3 specific agency operations known as Amadeus, Pegasus, and Watchtower. I have Watchtower documents heavily redacted by the agency. I was personally exposed to CIA operations and recruited by CIA personnel who attempted to recruit me in the late 70s to become involved in protecting agency drug operations in this country. I have been trying to get this out for 18 years, and I have the evidence. My question for you is very specific, sir. If, in the course of the IG's investigations and Fred Hitz's work, you come across evidence of severely criminal activity, and it's classified, will you use that classification to hide the criminal activity, or will you tell the American people the truth?
Watch his hands. Watch his hands.
All right, you want to hear the response first from Congressman Julian Dixon and then from the director. Wait a minute. From York. I'm sorry, sir. I will allow the director to speak first and then Congressman Julian Dixon.
If you have information about CIA illegal activity in drugs, you should immediately bring that information to wherever you want, but let me suggest 3 places. The Los Angeles Police Department.
Gotcha.
Please. I'm sorry, others want to hear this answer. I am sorry, others want to hear this answer.
It is your choice, the Los Angeles Police Department, the Inspector General, or office of one of your Congress persons from this.
I did that 18 years ago, sir, and I got shot at for it.
Wait a minute, sir. Wait a minute. Sir, sir, you have not gotten the mic yet. You are not. But wait a minute, then. Don't speak out of turn.
Let me say something else. If this information turns up wrongdoing, we will bring the people to justice and make them accountable.
All right, Congressman Dixon.
Thank you, sir, for coming.
Wait a minute here. I thought you did not want to be here, but now that you are here, please let us hear and listen. Thank you very much.
Sir, I want to thank you for coming. You were at the last meeting. The staff probably had the spelling of your name wrong, but
No, they didn't.
We would like to talk to you. We have been looking for a couple of days for you, and we want to make sure that you contact the committee, because obviously you have some valuable information. If you want to give it to me privately, if you want to hand it to that aide where I can contact you this evening, please do it. Don't let us get away without getting a contact for you.
Thank you, sir.
Pass it up to him now so everyone can see that I got it. That would be fine.
Thank you, sir. And for the record, Mike.
Please keep the noise down so that we can hear and we can get answers.
For the record, my name is Mike Ruppert, R-U-P-P-E-R-T. I did bring this information out 18 years ago, and I got shot at and forced out of LAPD because of it. I've been on the record for 18 years nonstop, and I'll be happy to give you, Congressman, anything that I have.
I have to tell you that was probably the most fun I've ever had in my life. Although tonight may top that. If you can kill the blue on the VCR there. What happened after this was John Deutsch was guaranteed an appointment by Bill Clinton to become the next Secretary of Defense. My confrontation with John Deutsch cost him that appointment.